Rica, an ecological paradise that is home to the 4% of the world's biodiversity. While 25% of its territory is under environmental protection and possesses a matrix of renewable energy. Alongside this positive reality lies the paradox that demythifies Costa Rica's facade as a green country. Its agricultural production model based on monoculture has had a major socio-environmental impact. In 2015, according to the Regional Institute for Studies on Toxic Substances, Costa Rica was, alarmingly, catalogued as one of the most voracious pesticide consumers in the world. Moreover, based on the research by the Conservation Federation of Costa Rica, many communities do not have access to drinking water, and several protected areas have been invaded and deforested. While this environmental problem can be solved by implementing more institutional controls and good practices, there are other problems related to socioeconomic aspects, which require more comprehensive solutions. In terms of land use, according to the National Agricultural Census in 2015, Costa Rica was planting 15 times more pineapple, 4 times more African oil palm, and 60% more banana plants than 20 years ago. The area where the 5 major permanent crops are farmed is 2.5 times larger than the used for 15 other annual crops. Coffee production represents more than twice the production of basic grains and vegetables. As a result, we import 60% of the grains that we consume, and food reserves are insufficient for dealing with an eventual food safety crisis in the country. Researchers from the State of the Nation program revealed that the income for traditional farmers has declined, while the agricultural export sector is hiring less workers. Their study also shows a direct link between agricultural farms and conditions of poverty, and explains a greater degree of unequal land distribution. Faced with this panorama, the agricultural ecological perspective proposes the search for a different model of development based on a wider diversity of production and short marketing circuits. In Costa Rica, there are multiple factors that propitiate this type of production model. For example, 9 types of climates and 5 altitudinal vegetation belts. Approximately 41% of the national territory is used for agricultural purposes. The presence of farmers' markets across the whole country bring together around 7,500 farmers in 80 markets of this kind. In addition to these positive factors, science and food technology are allies in a diversified production model, since the following research initiatives can contribute to enriching this proposal. Development of links between agricultural industries that will allow the food growth, and in rural areas, retaining the added value of production throughout the undertaking of post-harvest tasks, such as the selection, washing, classification, storage, conservation, transformation, and packaging of the product. Research on food safety and quality assurance related to short marketing circuits of production and commercialization. Process design for restricted and multipurpose spaces with high efficiency and low investment. Analysis of microbiological risk associated with handling multiple crops in a single space. Product development that ensures diversified diets using local raw material supported with sensory assessments to guarantee consumers acceptance and shelf life estimations. If, as a country and not as individual private sector efforts, we redirect research towards the aforementioned avenues of investigation, we can activate the local economy while protecting the country's cultural and natural heritage at the same time. It is out there in each of those regions with diverse climates and topography where one can adapt technological solutions to traditional knowledge, achieving a socio-environmentally fair agricultural food chain and finding the way out of this paradox.
Indonesia is an agrarian country with 7.74 million hectares of agricultural purpose field. However, the farmer welfare is still low. By March 2017, there are 17.1 million farmers considered as poor. Related to their occupation, there are 2 major factors to cause the issue, such as lack of information and long supply chains that is advantageous to farmers. Lack of information causes farmers incapable of forecasting the market. There are imbalance and mismatch between commodity demand and the commodity that farmers provide. which further led the possibility of under or oversupply, hence price fluctuation. The new science of weather and climate increased the farmers' problems, such as lack or over water supply that will affect the quality of crops, even causing massive harvest failure. Low quality of crops, price fluctuation, and the insufficient amount of supply make it even more impossible for local products to compete with imported ones that has better quality and lower price. Moreover, long chains of supply that caused by the uncontrolled activity of middlemen make farmers' welfare even more far away. Commodities from farmers are brought by middlemen with the lowest price, to then distributed to multiple channels before actually enter the market with higher price. Imagine if all of the problems can be solved with one solution, an application that can help farmers to predict what commodity that has high potential while also use farmers to sell their products with a controlled price. We introduce an ID called CIDCO, Integrated Information System for Food and Agriculture. It is an application that can integrate all our information that every parties like farmers, middlemen, and buyers can use to create such efficient and fair environment of buying and selling goods. For farmers, CIDCO only requires several information, such as farmer location from GPS and cultivation to harvest period for certain commodities that farmer wish to grow. The app will then show the most recommended commodity to grow, based on higher price and demands in the market. Information regarding commodities price by CIDCO are based on records and documentation provided by the Ministry of Trade. The data will be processed by this app based on demand and supply theory to show suitable prediction price. To determine the potential commodity, other features related to climate and weather is also included, such as rainfall prediction, which data are provided by the Ministry of Agriculture and Meteorological, Climatological, and Geographical Agency. This page will also provide with the additional information feature about technical care of the commodity. Unsolved problems regarding cultivation can also be discussed with fellow farmers by using discussion forum available within these apps. Meanwhile, the system will also maximize middlemen job by turning them into public servant under the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade. Besides distributing farmers' product to consumer based on app, middlemen will also cooperate with the ministry to introduce and socialize CIDCO to local farmers. Buyers will also have the convenience by only listing their demand into the app, and the info will be delivered to the middlemen, making them prepared to fulfill the demand from farmers. The commodities is possible to be gained from several farmers until it reaches the needed quantity. The middlemen pay the farmers, and after delivering the products to buyers, buyers pay the middlemen. All of that process is made efficiently based on this online app. Transactions between farmers to middlemen and middlemen to buyers are all under the supervision of the app, making it impossible for any parties to cheat price. In the end, CIDCO, a sophisticated yet massively beneficial app to all parties, are capable to making impossible possible. Long inefficient supply chains become shorter by proposing the role of middlemen to avoid price manipulation that brings injustice to farmers. Supporting features providing weather and climate information will result in maximized quantity and quality of commodities while also preventing such food loss occurring from unsold commodities. Finally, the stability of commodity price will ensure farmers to finally reach their long-dreamed prosperity.
Indonesia is a country with the third largest population in the world. However, well-being is still relatively low. Malnutrition problems are still common in rural areas, such as Papua. There were 61 deaths from the capital of Asmat district, Papua. In fact, the problem of malnutrition is still visible in urban areas such as Jakarta. Recorded on January 31st, 194 toddlers suffered from malnutrition in northern Jakarta. Indonesia has abundant natural resources, especially food sector. Unfortunately, the resources empowerment is still not optimal. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, Indonesia is the world's second largest food waster, squandering nearly 300 kilograms of food per person each year. Estimated food consumption at 110 kilograms per capita per year, and each person throws out 300 kilograms of food per year, so actually, one person in Indonesia can help 3 other people. Despite the many movements that support the reduction of food waste, the problem of Indonesian food waste is still can't be managed. If the food waste problems is left uncared, it may exacerbate the problem of malnutrition in Indonesia. Meanwhile, the society's welfare related to health is one of the responsibility of the state. These responsibilities are implemented through the BPJS program, which requires substantial costs to address public health, such as malnutrition. In other words, with you, Indonesians, wasting food, you are increasing the loss of the state, which should be used to advance the country. With the existing food waste problem, what if the food waste produced can be eaten back? Of course, it will be a solution that is relevant to the lifestyle of Indonesians. It can be executed by utilizing food waste to become an edible film. Edible film is a thin layer that can be eaten and able to provide resistance to mass transfers, such as moisture, oxygen, and other components, between foods packed with the environment. Edible films can be made from a variety of bases, such as fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Meanwhile, food waste in Indonesia is mostly staple food containing carbohydrates, such as starch. Edible starch-based film is an edible film that has the best physical characteristics than any other base. Therefore, food waste in Indonesia is very potential if utilized to be an edible film. Edible films can be applied as packaging on various foodstuffs such as tea wrap, instant spice wrap, rice wrap, bread wrap, and many more. Which means the application of food waste to be edible film will help overcome the problem of plastic waste in Indonesia. Edible film process can be made simply. Starch extraction is done from existing food waste, then added plasticizer compound such as glycerol and sorbitol. The solution is then molded and dried, forming an environmentally friendly plastic substitute layer. Indonesia is also the world's second largest producer of plastic waste, reaching 3.22 million tons per year, including plastic food packaging waste. With further research on edible film from food waste, if the edible film is capable of having the same characteristics as plastic, then plastic waste will not be a problem anymore. Edible film has another advantage as a packaging material, such as edible film can be given additional nutrients and also edible film can easily initiate children to eat, because eating food directly with the packaging is a unique, interesting, and efficient way for children. Therefore, in realizing the edible film-based food waste, cooperation is needed from various parties. First, it is necessary to patent a stable and durable edible film formulation. This is realized by the cooperation of various research institutions. Second, it is necessary to apply food waste processing in technical held by an institution that accommodate and manage food waste. Third, the making of edible film can be done on an industrial scale, both private and state-owned industries. The last stage, conducted by the government health agencies to determine the condition of malnutrition in a specific area, so the distribution of edible films nutritious by industry more effectively and efficiently. Collaboration among stakeholders clearly reduce food waste at the same time reduce malnutrition. This concept could also give a massive impact for a green environment.
As the world's population is increasing rapidly, we need affordable, nutritious, and sustainable protein source more than ever. More than 150 million children are having protein energy malnutrition in developing area worldwide. The consumption of meat products in developed area could increase the risk of chronic diseases. There is a highly potential solution. The story is about the Indonesian Tempeh movement, a non-profit organization that promotes tempeh as an affordable, nutritious, and sustainable protein source by transforming food science knowledge into an international movement. The founders of the Indonesian Tempeh movement are three generational food scientists, Professor Winarno, Wida Winarno, and Amadeus Triando Ahnan Winarno. First, they summarize scientific facts about tempeh. Tempeh is a traditional fermented soybean food that has been a staple protein source in Indonesia for more than 300 years. Compared to beef, tempeh contains similar amount and quality of protein, requires 5 times less emission and 10 times less energy consumption with 25 times less the price. By fermenting soybean with the rhizopus fungi, the nutrients in tempeh become more digestible. the essential vitamin B12 is added, and the dangerous anti-nutrient phytate is eliminated. However, most people in Indonesia don't see tempeh's potential yet. Due to being very affordable and easy to get, tempeh sometimes is regarded as a food of the poor, and this is what the Indonesian tempeh movement aims to change. The movement promotes tempeh using legitimate food science facts to break the wrong paradigm about tempeh, and to introduce tempeh to the world as a solution for affordable, nutritious, and sustainable protein source. After holding the first international conference on tempeh in 2015, the movement summarized the consensus and creates many forms of campaigns and activities. They educate people with fun videos, infographics, and campaigns on social media. They socialize the declaration of tempeh as a recommended weaning food for babies by the Indonesian Academy of Sciences. They publish international books about tempeh sciences, culinary arts, culture, and other aspects through collaboration with tempeh experts. The science of tempeh fermentation is also translated into the movement's Green Tempeh Workshop training, providing a safer and more efficient way of making tempeh. The workshop combines the tempeh making traditional technique with a food safety standard good manufacturing practices to produce internationally acceptable tempeh products. They empower school dropouts, jail prisoners, rehabilitation patients, and underemployed villages to produce their own food and create more jobs. By connecting with investors, distributors, and marketers, the movement's tempeh products are to be marketed to 800 outlets worldwide. The movement has reached more than 8 countries and 6 continents in sharing the food science knowledge and social entrepreneurship experience on tempeh through food festivals, schools, food diplomacy meetings, and international conferences and seminars. The incorporation of emerging technologies is also involved. The 10 Easy project by the movement's founder Amadeus combines biotechnology and 3D printing technology in making the world's first 3D printed tempeh maker, giving access to tempeh fermentation in areas that are hard to reach by industrial production and distribution. The movement is striving for tempeh to be registered as a UNESCO Intangible Heritage with Codex Alimentarius Commission's international food standard under the FAO and WHO. With more than 9,000 engagements through its platforms, the movement is growing and creating more and more innovative approaches in offering the world a solution upon solid food science foundation. Ultimately, because tempeh fermentation also works on many different kinds of beans and legumes, the Indonesian tempeh movement envisions to empower people with access to affordable, nutritious, and sustainable protein source using local crops from all over the world. This means higher value of agricultural products, new research and development, improved health and nutrition, new jobs, better economy, and improved human well-being.
According to FAO, 8% of the total greenhouse gas emissions are caused by food loss and waste, and Indonesia is the second biggest supplier of that problem. So, what should we do? I'm Siva from Surakarta, Indonesia. I live in a city where a lot of tofu industrial can be found. In Indonesia, tofu production is high because of higher consumption rate of tofu since 2012 until 2015 according to BPS data. Besides, in the tofu processing, the conversion of soybean into solid tofu waste is more than 100% and produced 15 liters liquid tofu waste in a batch.
Pas tahu ya sekitar 5 juta lah untuk buat tempe gembus sama pakan ternak ya seperti sapi, bebek.
Solid tofu waste mostly used as the main material for making Indonesian tofu cake, which we called it as gembus. In the other hand, it used as feedstock. Even though tofu waste still contain high nutrition, there are several ways to increase the economical value of solid tofu waste. One of them is by using it as material of analog rice production.
Kalau belum makan nasi, ada belum makan.
If you do not eat rice, you have not eaten. The dependence of rice in Indonesia is too high. That's why we present tofu analog rice as new alternative of Indonesian staple food.
The innovation of analog rice from several local materials already done. Solid tofu waste as one of the material for making analog rice can be functional food with its high dietary fiber content.
Tofu liquid waste are usually thrown away and it makes water pollution. Actually, it still can be used as biogas fermentation medium, which more valuable.
As did by Mr. Acho, he started to develop the utilization of liquid tofu waste for biogas fermentation based on the initiative of a research student from one of the university in Indonesia with the help of the government in 2003. This process occurs spontaneously by utilizing liquid tofu waste as substrate for anaerobic fermentation.
Sekitar 15 liter ya per masakan dibuang.
Dan dalam satu hari berapa kali masakan?
Ya kurang lebih 60 masakan. Kalau di tempat kami hanya untuk produksi dan juga masak. Untuk juga peternak juga bisa, kemudian untuk genset juga bisa. Terutama mengurangi dampak. Kalau gas metanya nomor 2.
Therefore, the amount of liquid tofu waste that is usually thrown away into the river can be minimized, thus reducing environmental pollution.
In the future, we hope that analog rice from tofu solid waste can be industrialized as alternative of paddy rice, which the consumption is really high. On the other hand, tofu liquid waste can be processed as biofuel.
These are some alternatives to reduce food loss.
Open your eyes and look around. With little innovation and creativity, everything that we think as a waste actually can be utilized as something valuable.
Let's make zero waste a way of life.
Will you?